Taking the league by storm and one of the best wide receivers of the 2010s, Victor Cruz deserves more love than what he gets. Cruz was an unstoppable force and was incredible at pretty much everything he did. That was until his injury. Victor Michael Cruz was born on November 11th, 1986 in Paterson, New Jersey. He would spend his entire young life in that town and would go to high school in Paterson, and he would actually only play 1 year of high school football. In that one season of high school football, he would record 47 catches for 869 yards and 8 touchdowns. Because he didn't play a lot of high school, he didn't get any scholarship offers for athletics. But he was pretty smart and went to college at the University of Massachusetts. Cruz was trying to take his football skills to the next level, and this hindered his academic ability, pushing him to actually be sent home from college twice. He became eligible to play football in 2007. Unfortunately, that same year, a tragedy would strike for him. His father would take his own life. Cruz wouldn't take the football field until 2008, his junior season, and would play his senior season as well. Despite playing just 2 seasons, he would have 131 catches for just under 2,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. He would also be a first-team All-Colonial Athletic Association wide receiver for both years he would play. He would attend Boston College's Pro Day, with him being measured at 5'11", 206 pounds with a 4.45 40-yard dash. He would go on to be undrafted, but signed with the New York Giants the day after the draft. Being signed just wasn't enough. He had to also play really well in training camp and OTAs, and also the preseason. He has to still make the final cut for the 53-man roster, and that's exactly what he did. And in the preseason game against the New York Jets, where not a lot matters, Victor Cruz erupted. He had 6 catches, 145 yards, and 3 touchdowns. It's just impressive, and that's just in one game. And because of all of this, he would actually make his way on and finish on the Giants' 53-man roster. Cruz would only play in 3 games this season, not recording a singular stat before a hamstring injury would cause him to miss the remainder of the season. He would come back the next season looking for his real chance to play. Before I say anything about the next season for Cruz, I want you to remember he played in all 16 games but would only start in 7. He would start the season at wide receiver 4 because of the loss of Steve Smith, and in week 3, wide receiver Dominique Hickson would get hurt, and this would lead Cruz to be wide receiver 3. Through the first 2 weeks of the season, though, Cruz would be a non-factor, having just 2 catches for 17 yards. After getting the starting job in week 3, Cruz would take full advantage of it and wouldn't look back. Against the Eagles, Cruz would only have 3 catches, but would have 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is where the story of Victor Cruz really starts. Hey, are you guys enjoying my content so far? If so, hit that thumbs up below. It really does help push out my video to more people so more people can look at my content. And also make sure to subscribe. It is free, and both of those things take about 5 seconds combined to do. So if you guys could go down and smash that like button and smash the subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. Also, let me know what I can improve on. But anyway, back to the video. I hope you guys enjoy. Peace. Victor Cruz would put the world on notice after week 3, and in week 4, he would show his talent, recording 6 catches for 98 yards. He would make an error this game, and that would be that he went to slide down, but he never got touched, and he threw the ball forward, which counts as a fumble. Luckily for him, Giants fans and the Giants organization, the refs missed this call and called him down by contact. Just 1 week later, he would have 8 catches for 161 yards and a touchdown in a loss to the Seahawks. He would have a few more errors in the game, which would cause him to not be utilized in the offense as much for the week following. But in week 7, Cruz would come back swinging, having 7 catches for 99 yards. And in the following weeks, he would have 91, 84, 128, 157, 119, 74, 44, 164, and 178 yards per game each week. The best summary I can conclude on Victor Cruz's first season essentially comes in week 16. With playoff implications on the line, Cruz would catch a pass from his own 1-yard line and take it 99 yards to the house. That's not all either, because in the playoffs, Cruz was integral in the Giants' Super Bowl run, having 21 catches for 269 yards and a touchdown. His biggest performance came in the NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers, where he had a whopping 10 catches for 142 yards. The Giants would go on to win the Super Bowl, giving Cruz his first and only Super Bowl ring. In just his first real season, including playoffs, his stats would go as follows: 103 catches for 1,805 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns. In his second season, Cruz wouldn't really be as lethal as he was in the first season, but he was still pretty much utilized. He had 143 targets with 86 catches. Now, that's not screaming numbers saying, oh, like, wow, whatever. But 143 catches and only catching 86 of them is not the best stat line. Despite that, for those 86 catches, he would have nearly 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. And in 2013, Cruz looked primed to have another great season. Through 12 games, he had 73 catches for 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. Cruz would suffer from a nagging ankle injury throughout the season, battling through it and still having yet a productive season. In 2014, the Giants were excited to have a great veteran like Cruz to teach a young and freshly drafted Odell Beckham Jr. Cruz had a slow start, and through the first 6 games, he would only record 23 catches for 337 yards and a singular touchdown. This is where the unfortunate turn for Victor Cruz would take place. In Week 6 against the Philadelphia Eagles, Victor Cruz would go up for a pass, which would be incomplete, and on this play, he would tear his patellar tendon. Tearing your patellar tendon is not, the worst injury, but it's also not something that you really want to mess around with. This would end his season, but not to fret. Hopes were high that he'd come back swinging and be better the next year than he was the previous. And this was great, but then it just kept getting pushed off. He returned to training camp that summer and he would pull his calf. Now, this would just, kind of delay the process. We were hoping, fans, the team, everybody was hoping that Victor Cruz would be back by week 5. And that got pushed back to week 10. And that got pushed back to week 12. And eventually, he was out for the entire season. Cruz would undergo calf surgery, hopefully to fix the problem, and be back the next year better than ever. Cruz would come back in 2016, and in week 1, after nearly 2 years, Cruz would have the game-winning touchdown, doing his signature salsa for the first time in what felt like forever. This would also be the last time that he does the salsa. The week following, Cruz would come up clutch again, having the game-winning catch for the Giants, leading them to 2-0. Him and Odell Beckham were balling out in the Big Apple. Unfortunately, this would not be the season for Cruz. He would wind up with just 39 catches for under 600 yards and his sole touchdown coming in week 1. Victor was no longer option 1, as the young Odell had taken the league by storm and became a lethal weapon. Cruz's age and injury history had shown, and the Giants would release him after the wildcard loss to the Green Bay Packers. The following year, the Bears would sign Cruz and release him before the season started. After injuries plagued the Giants, many were hopeful that the two would reunite, but the deal never happened, and that would be the last many have heard of Victor Cruz. In August of 2018, Cruz announced that he was retiring from the game of football. Being a Giants fan, I absolutely loved Victor Cruz, and he was the Giants saying, "Bleed blue," and he was a New York Giant through and through. And many fans across the world loved Cruz for the energy that he brought with him. I personally felt for Cruz that his career ended the way it did. And my question is, how great could he have been if injuries had never ruined his career? In my opinion, he was on pace to be one of those guys, almost like an Antonio Brown with the pace that he started out with. But maybe it's just my bias. I don't know. How do you guys feel? And what do you think he could have done if no injuries had ever happened and he kept up his production? Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. Peace.